folks, today I want to give you some ideas that we can use right now to redesign, recreate, relaunch, and rebuild our businesses. I realize that for many people now is a very, very tough time when you can't see your friends, your family, some relatives, and it might be very difficult. However, now is also a time to kind of twist our thinking, really shift our thinking and see where it is we want to be, see what we want to be doing, and let's look at some ideas that might be helpful. So I'm going to go ahead and start my screen share so that you can see some of my slides as we move into this. And I'm hoping some of this will be helpful. I'd love your ideas afterwards. So if we're thinking about now as a fabulous opportunity, and we talked last week about the pivot, that is your purpose, your influence or inspiration, your opportunities, the volatility spectrum, and then tools, technology, and tactics that we are using, as well as our training for right now, what that looks like. So we're focusing this week on the O, the opportunities, and that's the redesign, recreation, rebuilding, and relaunching of our business, whatever form that looks like. So right now, I've noticed that my senior decision makers, my CEOs, my people in leadership decision-making spaces, and my business owners right now, that is the who. What they need are strategies, tactics, and a clear path forward. And this is very difficult when, if you watch the news, you see interviews from restaurant owners who are saying, you know, I've spent 25 years in this business and it's my heart and soul and it's everything I care about. And, you know, what do I do next? And I'm just a little bit unclear about what I'm supposed to be doing. And then when do we get to do this? So before, you could think about this, you could do focus groups, you could have strategy sessions, you'd plan a retreat for next year, everybody would get together, you'd sing Kumbaya, have happy times, and then you figure out your strategic plan next year for what happens for the next 5 years. Well, that has all accelerated. Actions need to happen now, and they need to happen fast. So what we need from leadership right now is we need people to try things out. We're going to make mistakes, and that's okay. We need to test what's going to work or what doesn't. We need to assess really fast what is happening, what's working, and what is resonating. And then we're going to modify that and repeat it. Where? Well, we are still a globalized world, but we are going to see this increased focus on locally produced, locally sourced, as well as some other locally focused issues. Interestingly enough, employment is not one of those, because we can find talent and use talent all over the world. How we're doing that, every single detail is on the table. So what I said last week was, again, if you're going to go buy a new car, you can change the colors, you can get a sunroof, you can get a different radio, maybe leather seats. There's a few things you can change in the short run when you go to buy a car. But right now in our businesses, everything is on the table. Everything is changing. How we work, where we work, how we view work, how we interact with people at work, how we interact with our customers, everything. And the why, of course, is we are changing because we have to. Now, for many people, many businesses, and we talked about this, you know, at Connex, you know, people were worried about, well, can I have my people working at home? And we've been in favor of this forever, back since Yahoo decided to pull all their remote workers back, and we thought that was a mistake, because my premise at the time, and that article is still out there and it still stands in my opinion, and that is, if you aren't sure that your people are working, that is a leadership problem, that is not an employee problem. And that we're being valued and assessed based on our value and our outcomes, not so much just punching the clock. We are being forced to adapt. We are being forced to adopt technology. We are being forced to move things forward. And honestly, that's kind of good. So the status quo is gone. Everything's on the table. There will never be a normal again, as we saw in 2019, but there will be a new normal. There will be adaptations. Frankly, there's some things that I'm kind of glad to see. I like the fact that airplanes are going to get cleaner. I feel better about flying now than I've ever felt, and I wasn't worried before. I like the idea that things are cleaner, that hotel rooms are cleaner, things we touch all the time, cleaner, that people know that if they're sick, they should stay home. Well, we should have been doing this the whole time. So we have to ask ourselves, you know, what is our version, as my friend Carolyn Strauss has said, what's our version of our 1980s clothing? You know, those shoulder pads, the corduroy shorts. And if you still got that members only jacket, it's time to get rid of it. You know, what's our version of an 8-track tape? I was digging through my piles of things. I gutted my office and I found my Palm Pilot. And I have to tell you, I kind of miss my Palm Pilot. I really liked my Palm Pilot because it did things that I still can't get my iPhone to do. But it does make us aware of the things we should stop providing or stop producing. What do our customers or clients need from us right now? And what do they need from us in the future? And then how do we reinvent ourselves to stay relevant? And asking that question is, many people say, well, do we need to reinvent ourselves? Yes. The answer is yes. We have to stay relevant if we want to stay in business. And so what does this look like? This is what I call entrepreneurial leadership. And entrepreneurial leadership is the recreation part. So if you're a CEO, your ability lies in your ability to assess risks, to figure out what it is you're doing, to figure out, again, what works and what doesn't work and what you want to have work. We need you to be communicating with your employees and reassuring your customers. That's what we need. When the airline is such a great example because some have done very well and some have not. When you come out and tell customers something and then that's not what's happening on the ground, that makes you look like you are disconnected from your employees, your team, but also your customers. Our senior leaders have to make decisions quickly. We have to change our products and services. That means changing the delivery methods, changing to adapt to new regulations and requirements. The managers are having to implement these changes quickly. So the CEOs and our senior leaders have to make those decisions and they have to make them fast. But the managers, it's incumbent upon them to get their people on board with the change quickly. And that means implementing changes really quickly, keeping teams focused, reporting the results, and making sure that we are creating local adaptations. And my example for that is if you go to a McDonald's in Hawaii, they're really big on coconut there. I loved coconut there. And instead of just the apple pie, you can get a haupia pie, which is coconut. It's a coconut custard pie, and they still have deep fried pies. I think it's the only place in the country that still has deep fried pies. And this idea of employees expect more, be flexible to adapt to more rapid changes. Our employees need to be giving their managers and leaders the benefit of the doubt and saying, you know what, we're not really sure what's going to go on or what's going to happen next, but we trust you to be able to do that. So really quickly, I want to stop screen share for just a second. And I would love to ask you, so where are you seeing great ideas that are manifesting in your local stores, in your local environment? Where are you seeing terrific manifestation and value added locally? So again, if you could hop into the chat and just say hi, that would be fantastic. And tell me what you think is working in local stores or local businesses, or what you're doing to make a positive change. And I'll go back to screen share and we will move on. So this is the 5-minute crisis plan. You've probably seen me talk about crisis issues before. A crisis comes in many, many forms. And we know that during times of crisis, people need more communication, more empathy, and more flexibility. But that doesn't mean you don't hold people accountable for the work they're supposed to be doing. You have to do that. You have to hold people accountable. Otherwise, you're not going to be able to stay in business. Staying in business is not greedy. It is good for you to stay in business. Your business relies on you staying in business. So do your employees. Your customers are counting on you. Stay in business. Do the things you know you need to do that it's going to be helpful for your business moving forward. And as leaders, we need to have strategic leadership with calm action steps to help our people take the right steps forward. So really quickly, how do we lead people through a crisis? As I've said before, acknowledge the problem. Make sure you know what the issue is and make sure you know what the issue looks like to your people. You might think everything is great because you've got a terrific home office and you don't have to worry about kids being homeschooled, but you have to see the crisis from your people's perspective. Understand the ramifications this crisis has on other people, especially your employees and your customers. And then ask those what if categories, those what if questions, and get those factual answers. So if you've got those what if questions, again, ask yourself, what is the worst case scenario? What's the best case scenario? And then figure out your strategic plan working backwards. And then figure out your strategy with your entire team and figure out what that looks like. Look at all your policies. Has this ever happened before? Well, for most of us, no. But we do have some lessons from 2008 and 2009 where we had to lay people off, people were furloughed, and then we had to bring people back and get people on board after we said, well, you're fired. And for some people, they didn't understand that we just don't have the money to pay you, or you could be making more money in unemployment than you are right now. So really, your being furloughed is the best thing to happen to you. What do we need to do, though, to move forward? And this means being very calm, but also optimistic, and realistic moving forward. Now, keep your people informed. Provide information as soon as it is available, even if you don't have complete information. One of my favorite leaders ever, one of my Army generals, said, I would rather know know whatever you have now than have 95% of the information later, because I've got to make a good decision now. And that good decision is predicated on the information I've got right at this second. And we also know that we've got to support our people by taking the uncertainty that people are experiencing and merging that with that information and then giving them action steps. Because uncertainty creates fear, but action steps do kill the fear. And that's what we want. We want people to be in control of as much as possible. Now, we know we've got to make decisions based on facts. Again, not on feelings, not on assumptions, not on gossip, not on rumors, not on the latest news story that may or may not be true. What we want is we want to make sure that the decisions we're making are good, solid, and not based on the high emotional level that many people have in a crisis situation. So again, think about if you've ever had an argument with your partner or a spouse and you decide to make you're going to draw a line in the sand and it's during a high emotional level, it's probably not the best decision. So number 6, actions trump fear. Absolutely 100% of the time. Give your people tasks to keep them not only focused, but motivated, and give them smaller tasks or big tasks that are broken down into smaller chunks so that people can get the wins. And then help your people be successful by providing deadlines that are helpful. More and more people are more distracted, that they're surprised by things appearing on their calendar. I'm not sure about you, but other people have the ability to schedule things on my calendar. And so I have to get up every day and look at my calendar and make sure things are synced to make sure that I'm not missing a meeting, because that would be quite bad. And it makes me a little bit concerned. That provides a source of stress for me. And I have to make sure that I am being accountable to my people as well. And so then in terms of crisis demanding action, it absolutely demands action, especially from leadership, because our natural reaction is to retreat and become more protective of ourselves. That circling the wagon tendency is very, very strong in a crisis. We need more interaction. More people, even the introverts, have been more willing to reach out than maybe otherwise not. We're seeing more people who are working from home to really step into a leadership position. Some of my business leaders say, you know what, we never thought Joe Bob was ever going to be a great leader, but wow, in this crisis, he's just done exceptionally well. Or that person that we thought was really quiet and, we weren't sure how much they were participating. Well, right now, I think remote work is a great equalizer, because you are now, again, judged on the work you're providing, your outcomes and your results, not just based on your sheer charismatic personality. So we have to set expectations and hold people accountable in all situations. And then these are the areas of opportunities. I call these my buckets of opportunities for pivoting. And I've mentioned these before. It's your technology. What are you doing in order to be better? What process or processes can you stop doing because you don't have time for it? It doesn't matter anymore. What can be simplified? What can be streamlined? What can be simulated? Again, pilots use simulations to figure out what they're going to do in a real crisis. What can you simulate as a crisis so that when you have this crisis situation, you are not starting from ground zero? And then stimulate your thinking to get rid of, again, the things that don't matter and move forward in the most positive way possible. And then strategize whatever it is you're doing so that you are doing the right thing at the right time. With your people, again, hire the best people you can possibly find. And a lot of people suddenly, 33, 38 million people are now suddenly without a job. Not all those people will be going back to the organization they came from. It's a great time to be able to look at the people you've wanted to hire. Maybe they weren't available. And now you can do that. So hire, train, develop them, and promote them. Keep your training relevant, especially now, tight, more content, tighter, things that people can review at their leisure. Make it interesting, important, inviting, instrumental, and instructive. So make your training relevant and interesting. Create resources that will help you realign, reallocate, redesign, repurpose, and retool what it is you are doing in the business world right now. So if you are thinking about relaunching your business, it's nice to have those leads that you should have been following up on before. I don't know about you, but now is a great time for me to be going back and looking at leads that maybe I didn't follow up with as well as I should have. And I'll confess, sometimes for me, business is a little bit like what my dating life was like. I was like, oh gosh, if they like me, they'll call me. Folks, this is business. And if you are providing a great solution to somebody else's problem, and you know you have the solution and you're not reaching out to them, then you're kind of not serving your customers the way you should be serving your customers. So it's really, really important for you to be doing that. Build credibility. Help your people see you as a credible expert and stay top of mind in whatever way that looks like. Most of you know I do a newsletter. It comes out every Tuesday because I have a team who puts that together. I write the content, they put it together and make it pretty and interesting. And folks, I got to tell you, I would love it if you opened it because I think there's good stuff in there. This week there is a memorial tribute video. There's the link to the next week's video or today's video. There's some other pretty good nuggets. There's almost always a free download that's pretty cool. But mostly I'm trying to stay top of mind. And I have about 20,000 people on that list. And I'm just trying to go, hey, remember me, I'm here if I can help, let me know. And strengthen those relationships in a way that, again, is not a money grabbing move. We are strengthening relationships right now because we need relationships with other people. And solving your customers' problems, even before they know those are problems, is so important right now. And yes, Sandra, thank you so much for throwing in your comment about the social distancing using outdoors. We haven't before. You're absolutely right. We have to be safe, but we also have to make sure that we are doing things well. And more people are finding creative solutions, curbside and working from home. Yes. And communication, collaborationship, yes. So I keep saying the word collaborationship, Mike, and I'm hoping it catches on. I love the word because, it's ship, it's Navy, it sounds like leadership, collaborationship. And this whole idea of feeling as though we don't have to be stuck in old world thinking is huge. And Michael from California, making sure we're doing things on an ongoing basis, what should be doing. And again, Michael was part of that memorial video. So please do check that out if you can. So solve your customers' problems before they know they are problems, and then give, and give some more. This is where I'm seeing businesses do very, very well, being part of the solution. I love the restaurants, for example, that have turned their teams into shelter kitchens and serving people who are disadvantaged, or providing meals for healthcare workers or other folks. Give, and give some more. Deliver that value proposition that is so critically important. And then again, across all sectors, folks, and it does not matter if you are in the floral business, if you work at a fast food restaurant, or you are a dog groomer, what people want is an easy buying decision and an easy buying process. They want the interactions with the people to be pleasant, and they want a quality product. That's it. That's all they want. Make it really easy for your buyers to find you. There's nothing more frustrating than to think, oh gosh, yes, I've seen that product. I want that product. I go to buy that product, and you make me sign in, join a membership, supply a kidney, any of those things that make it hard for people to give you money. Just stop doing that. And use social proof to fortify people's buying decisions. More people now, because they've got maybe less disposable income, and that's the money we have after taxes, are maybe doubting some big purchase decisions. So if you sell something that's a big purchase or something like that, make sure you are helping people see the continued value of what it is you are selling them. I was at Trader Joe's yesterday, and there was a new product that I saw, and it looked fairly healthy. And when I got to the cashier, I said, by any chance, have you tried this? And the cashier said, no, I haven't. And he looked at somebody else and he holds it up. He goes, have you guys tried this? And they were like, we haven't. And he said, you can always bring it back. Now, I have to tell you, folks, I've never returned anything in my life. I'm pretty much part of that mentality that says, if you bought it, live with it. That's the end of it. And I'm like, it doesn't matter if I like it or not. I bought it. I'm going to eat it. That's kind of how I was raised. And he said, but if you bring it back, then that's proof to us that that's not something we should keep on the shelves. I really desperately wanted to say, or people are just being super, super cheap. I thought it would be a better idea to have people say, what's your top favorite thing you have recently purchased, and use that kind of social proof to help people see that their buying decisions were solid. So rebuild in your 5 key areas. Again, those buckets: the people, processes, resources, technology, training and development. And look at it from your customers' touch point perspectives. Look at it in terms of social media. Try to create some engagement on social media. If there's a problem, take care of it fast. I remember a problem I had with a rental car company last year because it was done through Hertz, but it was one of their foreign affiliates, but they used the Hertz name, and I could not get them to respond. Sent letters, made phone calls, couldn't get anything back, put it on Twitter and got a response. So I don't really like complaining on social media, but people are paying attention to social media. Ideally, we would use our social media powers for good. Make sure your website is crystal clear about what you're providing right now. And make sure if you do have customer service people that their attitude and responsiveness is exactly what you want to convey. Make every single touch point matter. When I talk about a touch point in your 5 key areas, make sure those are positive experiences. So again, if somebody calls up your phone number and they are irritated by what they find, or if you make something difficult, that's not great customer service. If all you're doing is irritating your customers, it's not really serving them. So asking questions such as, how can I help? As a leader, we have to understand that we have to create positive experiences. I have a great picture. I saw it at a conference, and there was a food truck, and they were selling grilled cheese sandwiches, and they said, we make a grilled cheese sandwich an experience. And I thought, wow, if you can do that, that's pretty amazing. It's a grilled cheese sandwich, and they're making it into an experience. So what can we create as a positive experience? And then look at what customer behaviors and trends are changing as we move forward coming out of this. I'm getting up every morning and I'm reading economic data, and I'm interested in what people are doing that is different. That more people, yes, we know there are more people working from home, more people are homeschooling, we know all that, but how are we delivering our goods to people in a way that is going to be friendly to the environment? Because that is a huge concern. We don't want the big, humongous boxes for a tiny little, maybe an eyeliner, and the box is, 2.5 feet by 2.5 feet. We're more and more concerned about things like that, and that is causing us to pause when we make our next purchase. So consumer behaviors and trends. How do we balance being mindful of the environment, being mindful of health issues, saving time and saving money? What does that all look like? As leaders, we have to know what we do better than our competition, or just slightly differently from our competition, as you all know. We have to realize that the pace of change has accelerated. And in many cases, this pace of change needed to accelerate. It is sad that it took a crisis to get us to make these changes, but it's important that we do this. And we have to recognize that most people do struggle with change. And we as leaders have to get them inspired. And we inspire them with our actions, our words, and also maintaining a sense of humor. Yes, these are difficult times, but if people see us stressed out, crazy, running around, super concerned, then they're going to adopt that as well, and that's probably not productive. Keep in mind, folks, emotions are high and our actions are being scrutinized over and over and over. We're seeing business leaders being judged for a statement they made back in February before we knew this was really as big a problem as it has become. And we have to make sure that we get really good counsel and advice so we don't make mistakes that are ending our business. I will share with you that some of my clients right now, I've been getting phone calls, and I do confess, I love that I do have clients who think it's okay to call me, like literally call me at midnight on a Saturday night. I'm just really impressed that they think that at my age and station in life, I would be awake on Saturday night at midnight and answer the phone. But I love that they feel comfortable enough to actually make the phone call and talk to me and say, hey, we're at work right now because they run 24/7 operations. And what do you think? I love that they feel comfortable enough with me to make that phone call. And I just happened to be awake. So there was that. So how do we help those of us around us throughout this process and put those pieces together, which does merge our technology, our change, and our people? So we have to help our people. And this does not mean This does not mean not holding them accountable. We do hold them accountable, but we do have to help people maintain feeling good about themselves. Many people are having a lot of doubt right now. We have to see that we have to show them that they're making a difference. And that is part of the Pivot program, where we reestablish that purpose and our vision. People need to know what to do next. And we have to lead by example, not by fear. There's enough fear on the planet right now. If you have noticed the news, they're selling fear. And in some cases, they are exaggerating what's actually happened in some areas. We have to lead by example, and we have to share solutions with each other. And that's one of the reasons I want to leave some time at the very end of this, is to share some solutions. We've got to connect with other people on a more meaningful level. We have to help our people see the why and what it is they do. And we have to give people hope beyond this crisis and say, you know what, in a year, things are going to be different, but it's not going to be bad. It's not going to be what it is right now. Things are going to be better. And we have to be seen as leadership that is authentic, honest, and trustworthy. And we do that by over communication and making sure that if we say something, if we promise we're going to do something, that we are going to do that. Now, my leaders oftentimes neglect themselves. So folks, right now, if you're in any leadership position, even if that is leading your dogs out for a walk, I need to please, please, please ask you to take care of yourself too. This is why in airplanes, they say, put your mask on first before you put it on for other people. Now we'll have competing masks. I'm not sure how that's going to work. I'm sure somebody in the airline industry has discussed that or thought about that. But please take care of yourself. Focus on getting good sleep and exercise, drink water. I know that sounds really basic, but I have a Post-it note on my desk, like I talk about, that says drink water. Eat healthy if you possibly can. Talk to your executive coach or your executive advisor. Talk things through. Pick up the phone. Especially if you're feeling stressed, your people will see that you're stressed and they will not react as well as possible. Make time to laugh and refine the relationships that are most important, because the stakes are simply higher right now. And for you leaders, this is causing perhaps more stress, more doubt. It is lonely to be a business owner and the person at the top. Your habits and routines have been interrupted, and we worry about our people and our business. As a leader, we have a choice. We get to make a choice. Are we going to be a bridge that really looks more like a path, but it's a pretty wide bridge? Are we going to be a bridge that helps people get across to a different situation, or are we going to be a fence? Are we going to put up blockades and barriers and make things more difficult? And so for many people, we as leaders, sometimes when we get into that self-doubt place, we get that imposter syndrome or that fear factor. I used to love that show, Fear Factor, because I just thought all those things looked like a lot of fun. But this idea of imposter syndrome, I just need you to know that if you've had the doubt of, gosh, why did somebody hire me to do this? Or I can't do this, or people won't follow me, or what if I'm wrong? Those are good questions, but it means you probably don't have imposter syndrome. The people who doubt their own abilities are not the people who have imposter syndrome. Imposter syndrome people are the people who are truly imposters, and they don't really understand what happens next. And they are the imposters, and they are not self-aware enough to realize that. So folks, thanks so much for joining me today. This is another Wednesday webinar. We've got one more for the end of May, and I'm just beyond honored that you all joined us here today. Have a great rest of the week.